Good day, folks. Welcome to another one of my leagues. This time we'll be playing with Blue-Red Delver with Krark. So why would you play Krark instead of other variants? If Krark is doubling your spells, it's providing you a lot of advantage in exchange for mana. But that means that if the game goes long and you get a lot of land in play, it's even more powerful than a Dreadhorde Arcanist or Ethereal Forager would be. So we're playing it in the spot of like what could be one of two Ethereal Foragers or like a Borrower or something. And what it basically does is, if we have a lot of mana, our opponents can just rely on removal spells to get rid of it. Because we're for every mana that we can get to spend with it in play, we get like half a card of advantage out of it. So what it basically on average does is it makes each of your spells cost twice as much and doubles the effect. In the case of forces, this is of course very painful, since if you pitch a blue card to force and you have to pay that again, that's pretty bad, since doubling the effect isn't good. But with regards to all our other cards, paying 2 mana for 6 damage is a great deal. That would be very much legacy playable. It's way better than a lightning bolt would be. A 2 mana for a double ponder would also be a great playable. And having that flexibility, sometimes you get it for 1 mana, sometimes you have to invest more. It's worth really a lot. That does mean, however, that we have to change our mana base in order to maximize it. So that's what I'm doing with this version here. So Krark basically needs a lot of mana to work optimally. So the more lands we have in play, the more chances we get to actually double up on our spells and use the spells that we find with a doubled up cantrip and so on and so forth. So what I did for this version is I went down to 2 wastelands, and in place of the second and third and fourth wasteland, we added a Caracas, since that's a utility land like wasteland, but one that stays in play, so we can get a bit more mana on the turn that we cast Krark, because we can spend the Carcass mana on Krark, or we can keep Carcass open to protect it, whatever fits the situation. And it also means that if we absolutely have to guarantee to force or will something, we can always Carcass our own Krark back to our hand and then cast a force or will, so we are sure that we're gonna get it off and then just replay Krark in the next turn and go from there. The other land I added is another volcanic island. One of the very key parts for playing with Krark is that you need a lot of mana of the same color. Normally the deck can function pretty well on Island Mountain, but if you're trying to Chain Lightning something and it's not working, you need another Chain Lightning mana. So you really want your mana to, all of your lands to give as much red as possible, while also giving as much blue as possible, because when you're cantripping, maybe you have to cast your ponder twice, maybe 3 times. You want as many of your lands as possible to give blue as well. So in order to provide that, we're running 4 volcanic islands. This basically means that we're a bit higher on colored sources just to support this. I think going from the wasteland to Carcass is less of a commitment than the additional volcanic island over a wasteland is, because Carcass is also just a very good card. But I like, when I go to the second Krark, I like making this commitment in my mana base as well. What else does that mean? I have a Flusterstorm in my main deck. I'm not sure that's correct. Normally I have a Spell Piercer, but Flusterstorm, while hitting less cards, it's way better with Krark. So if our opponent casts a spell and we get to Flusterstorm it, either we win the flip and we get another copy of Flusterstorm, which is not that great, but well, it's not bad. But if we lose the flip, we still get the storm counters of Flusterstorm, which might be able to counter whatever our opponent was playing, and we get the Flusterstorm back in our hand. So if you ever get that off, that we actually counter the opposing spell and get it back, that's just very good. And that also means that if we ever have 2 blue mana open, the Flusterstorm becomes even more potent. So I really like doing that, having the Flusterstorm here just to get the highest reward for Krarks. I'm not sure it's worth it, but I like trying it. And I also have the second Flusterstorm in my sideboard, where I'd normally either have the first Flusterstorm or Force of Negation. But because the forces aren't always as good, I like trying a second Flusterstorm here. Other than that, the sideboard is pretty stock. I think especially when you're running Krark, Submerge gets a bit more value, but I'm running Submerge anyway, so I'm not running it for that reason specifically. And of course, Blazing Volley over Rough Tumble, because you have more creatures that die to Rough Tumble, and because Blazing Volley can also kill 2 toughness creatures with Krark in play. So that's the deck I'm going to play. It's a bit better against in grindy matchups, it's a bit worse against combo, but I like this variant. I think it's pretty good, and let's see how it goes.